Hello, this is Don Cusic with The Music Biz, and today my guest is Debbie Banks, who works in artist development with CBS. Debbie, let me begin by asking you, how did you get involved in the music industry?
Very haphazardly. A psychology major, and ended up dancing, to make a real long story short, became a wiener lady at a showcase club in Cleveland, Ohio called the Agora. From the wiener lady I became manager, and from there on I just kept going on and on. At that point I realized I really enjoyed the music industry and was going to stay in it, but never expected, never tried to be in it, just sort of happened.
But how did the wiener lady get hired by CBS?
How did the wiener lady get hired? The wiener lady moved to Nashville, started working at an independent public relations firm called Network Inc., and from there I had a lot of clients that were CBS artists, and I decided that I wanted to be at CBS, and so I started trying.
Okay, now
Went there.
Define artist development. What is it you do?
I develop artists. That's always a good one, because when people ask me, what do you do? I develop artists. So some are developable, some aren't. It depends. Basically, it's broken down into 4 different areas. One is TV, webbook TV shows, work with specials, award shows, getting artists on there. Second one is video, and we start off from deciding who needs a video, what the song will be, developing the video, getting the video done, putting it out, promoting it, distribution. The third area is basically, the third and fourth area are together, their visual show. It's their show and also how they look just walking around. So I'll go to a lot of concerts and see their pacing of the show, the lighting, the sound, how they come across to the audience, what the people are doing in the audience, and their whole visual presentation. That's artist development.
Okay. Now you came out of publicity to do that. What does an in-house publicity person do?
In-house publicity deals with print and syndicated radio shows, so that's a little bit different. It's basically it overlaps in a lot of ways, but it basically in publicity you deal with print and radio shows.
How do you determine the market for an act?
How do you determine the market for an act? I guess that, I don't know, that's a little bit of a hard question, because it really is not related to the age of the person. I guess it's more related to the music that they do, the type of music that they do. It's also very relative, because at times it changes. So that at one point George Jones is going to have a very old audience. Right now I would say that he has an older audience simply because his profile has been much lower. There was a point when people like Linda Ronstadt and Emmylou Harris were all coming around, and he was getting a much younger audience. So I don't know as much as it's I don't know if it's determined by the people and the times, or and maybe related to the person's music. It's a little bit hard, because the two go hand in hand.
Do you develop a marketing plan or a career plan for an act?
Oh yeah, most definitely, and it's short term and it's also long term. You know, one of the things that people have, I think, have a misconception about what people at record companies or publicity companies do. A lot of people feel like we create, we make an artist, we change, we make them something they're not. That's not true. We create, we enhance basically more than anything. We don't change. So what you do is you start off with an audience and you take what they are and make more of what they are, and maybe try to get them to go beyond a little bit of where they are right now into new areas. For example, Ricky Skaggs, who I'm absolutely so proud of, who just won a Grammy a couple days ago. Started off with him when nobody knew who he was. It was Skaggs who? Boz? No, Ricky Skaggs. And nobody really knew who he was, and I kept saying, gosh, you know, I mean, this guy's going to be so big. So 3-4 years ago when I first started working with him, nobody knew who he was, and he has changed quite a bit but remained the same. With Ricky, you never want to take away his basic country roots, because that's what his music is about. That is what his personality is about. So what I do is I take and I listen and I talk and I see their music, and I take where they are right now and start moving them, but along the same road of what they are. You would never want to take Ricky away from his country roots, but the new video on Ricky Skaggs uses Bill Monroe, keeps his country roots, and he has break dancers in New York City in his video. It sounds real strange, but it isn't at all. So what we have is we have the old, and we have him branching out into the new. Ricky's audience is changing. It's a very country family audience, but now I'm starting to see a lot of college kids come in. It's getting real interesting with Ricky.
Okay, now you're talking about developing image. And you're developing, in this case, Ricky Skaggs' image. What are some of the nuts and bolts things you did to develop
Ricky?
Ricky's image?
Basically, we changed, well, I don't need to get in the stage show. We changed his dress quite a bit. The boy's lost a lot of weight. He wears a lot of red leather. So his clothes have changed quite a bit. He doesn't wear cowboy shirts anymore like he used to. Sometimes he does underneath his red leather sport coats. But his clothes have changed, number one. Number two, his presentation has changed in the sense that 2 years ago we could have never got him to see to appreciate working with breakdancers in his video. The changes that have occurred are very, very subtle. Most of it is areas that we're working in. We're working in a lot of colleges doing Q&As with Ricky so that people understand what Ricky Skaggs is about. One of the things that I have been on, this little campaign I've been on, is to get people to understand what country music is, the value of country music. Before I moved to Nashville, I thought, country music, my God, what a bunch of moaning and whining hillbillies. All they're doing is moaning in their beer. Well, I just didn't want to hear of any of that. And then I moved to Nashville and started really appreciating. I think that a lot of people really need to appreciate country music. So through information, question and answer periods, getting people to understand the history, I'm trying to show them what I know, what I never knew before. And in that, I'm using a lot of that with Ricky. We're changing his audience. It's becoming younger and younger.
So you're having to sell the music as well as the act.
As the act, right. And the two go hand in hand. I don't need some hillbilly coming in moaning and groaning wearing country suits, or hee-haw, people from the hee-haw set coming in to sell a college audience. It's just not going to get it.
What would the college audience go for?
I think somebody like Ricky Skaggs, something that they could see the... Now see, Ricky has another thing. Ricky is very saleable in the sense that his music, as an instrumentalist, which is what he got his Grammy for, he's incredible. When I was in the lobby of the Parker Meridian one day, and I heard this guy going, yeah, this real punked out guy, Ricky Skaggs is one of my favorites. And I turned and I looked and I saw a Twisted Sister jacket on. So of course I want to know who this guy is. The guy is the guitar player in Twisted Sister, and I thought that was very interesting that he would say that Ricky Skaggs is one of his favorite pickers.
So Twisted Sister has more taste than you thought?
Well, yeah, in a lot of ways, and I'm sure a lot of people have have much more taste than what I would give them credit for. Yeah. I guess the name of the game is keep your mind open so that you could really hear and appreciate. I don't know if I answered your question. By the way, I get on a roll and I forget about where I'm at.
What's the role of print in developing an act?
The role of print, it's real important. One of the things that happened when I was in publicity, I'm trying to see the sequence of events here in my mind. I'm not looking up to the Lord, although I do all the time. The sequence of events for Ricky Skaggs was he was getting very hot, and it was, I can't remember if it was right before he won the first time he won any kind of CMA awards. I think he just won 2 awards. We went to New York City and he did a print interview with the New York Times, Robert Palmer, who is, if you know anything about Robert, an incredible writer, very succinct to the point, and you have to pick out every word of his. After that happened, we suddenly got People magazine, we suddenly got Rolling Stone, because Robert Palmer, and I knew, was a turning point, and I knew that people would read his things and they would listen to him. So after he wrote about him, Robert will write about it? Yeah, okay, we're all right. And every little detail fell in line, every interview.
So print leads to more print. Print
leads to more print, and I have to have print. Radio has to have print. See, it all feeds into each other. You know, people say, well, what do you do? Do you develop the concepts of the videos? No, I don't. I do that with the promotion department. I do that with A&R. I do that with the artists. I do that with product management. It's not just one person doing anything. I need print to enhance TV. I take a lot of the articles. I'm a big believer in direct mailing. I take a lot of the articles, reprint them, send them to my TV people, and they keep thinking, person must be pretty hot if they're getting all that press. It's all part of the game. The more the people write about it, the more everybody else will jump on the bandwagon. I need print, and I have to have airplay, and I have to have good songs. See, it all starts with a song, actually. What I do, if I don't have some good music, I can't do anything. I can't do anything. I cannot sell an artist, make them create their image without a good song.
So it would start with radio.
It starts with the song. No, it starts with the song, with the person writing it, the way the artist has delivered the song. Then I guess you would go to radio, because it's got to start working on the charts. And I mean, if it dies at 58, well, there's not a whole hell of a lot you can do with it. Hope I'm allowed to swear in this thing.
You can.
Okay. So you move it on the charts, that's radio promotion. Then the product management is developing it. Product management buys ads, deals with radio spots, basically advertising and placement of the product. Product, that's a horrible name for music, but that's what they do. And then publicity comes in, and they're doing all their little print things around everything else that's happening. And I'm doing all my little things around everything else that's happening. So everything feeds into each other. And you have to have everything. You have to have every component working. If you don't have them all working, it just doesn't quite work.
Okay, how about TV? Where does TV fit in developing an act?
TV fits in probably, well, you know, you have all these levels, and then there aren't all these levels. It's sort of like all chunks of the pie more than levels, I guess, and it's just one chunk of the pie. Maybe right next to, most close to, I'd say, I don't know, I would say closest to print publicity. And it just fits in with everything else. You have all the chunks of the pie, and it fits in right next to print.
How important is videos? How important are videos in country music in developing an act?
That's still yet to be seen. I don't know. I do know one thing, that suddenly, for whatever reason, I don't know if. Well, I think, okay, there are a couple different areas of that. I guess nothing is a simple answer. First of all, I don't know. As far as making albums sell, that's very, very hard to determine. The same as you would ask me, does publicity, do you need a publicist to sell your records? Well, who knows? I think you do. I think you have to have that, especially now. So therefore, I think that you do need videos. I think it depends on the video, too. This Ricky Skaggs video is a killer. I think that it's going to do an awful lot for Ricky Skaggs, but there are very few videos that are just killer. Punch and Lefty video was just a killer. So I think it depends on the video, number one. You still can't automatically relate that to sales of an album, and I think that it's there, although unseen. I just think that it's another part of the chunk. It's another medium that you get exposure that you can't get on TV. You can't get in print. You can't get on radio. It's just another avenue, cable.
How do you determine who you're going to do a video on and who you're not going to do a video on?
It's just real relative and depends on the time. It just comes from a feeling, I guess, which is a real simple, silly answer, I suppose. I don't know.
Kind of this arbitrary thing.
A lot of the things that I do are real natural for me. So. Ricky Skaggs, I knew he needed another video. He hadn't had a video for a long time. He had a new album. He had some good music. I was ready to break him over to another audience, a more college audience, so I needed ways to do that. I needed a tool to do that. One of them was to take a video. Also, Ricky Skaggs comes across in a video very, very well.
Where are the outlets for country videos? Who's watching them?
A lot of basic, a lot of local, when I say basic, I mean local TV shows that will utilize video because it's a cheap form of programming. Then also you have a lot of cable people coming in. Everybody's jumping on this bandwagon of using videos. You have HBO using it, Showtime using it, VH1, which is the new MTV channel. In fact, we're going to do a world premiere with VH1, which I'm just tickled about. Southern word. I guess I've lived here long enough. There are becoming more and more outlets for country video, which is a lot of fun. And I think, therefore, that because there are more and more outlets, we're going to see the need for outlets. One of the interesting things I started to tell you before that was happening was suddenly our Friendship album, which is Ray Charles and Friends, Ray and a number of people, suddenly starting to sell real well. I don't know why. It could be the advertising. I know one thing, Willie and Ray are not touring. I know another thing, we have a video out on them. I'm not trying to say that. That is what's doing it. I know that their single is doing very well. That's another part of it. I do know they're suddenly starting to get a lot of print. They're starting to get a lot of calls. Something's happening, and I can't attribute it to just the airplay. I can't attribute it just to the ads, and I can't attribute it just to the video. I do know one thing, a profile with Ray and Willie playing very simply on each other is very touching. There you have them singing right on to each other, singing at a piano, and it is real pretty.
Is anybody buying country videos?
No, not yet.
Have you got them for sale?
No, we don't have them for sale yet, although I envision that very soon. Sort of like a work reel with a number of artists on one reel. I also can see in the future album flashes. Of course, that's happening more and more. Crystal Gayle just did one. Although, you know, you get people say country, oh, we've got too much country. So we're still trying, I think we're still trying to educate, and it's not country music. My gosh, if you hear what's going on out there now, when you ask yourself, is that country? I don't know. Is Ray Charles country? I don't know. I guess you would typify Ricky Skaggs to be country, but I wouldn't Ray. I wouldn't one of our new artists, Mark Gray, or Keith Stegall, who wrote Al Jarreau's We're in This Love Together.
So you think country's kind of losing the original definition of...
I think it's changing. I think that it's broadening out. I think that, like all other forms of music, you're starting to not classify. I think that there was a point that people got lazy about country music. See, there's a change happening here in country music right now. I think that people got lazy with country. There was an urban cowboy craze, and this, of course, is all my idea. Nobody, there are no books to read about it. No, yeah, this is my idea. Yeah. I think that people got lazy. The music started getting lazy. The music started getting boring and schlucky. In the middle of the road, everything started sounding the same, and I'm not going to name names because I'd probably get myself in trouble doing
that. Some of them are on your label.
Yeah. So things started getting lazy. It became not exciting. It became just like everything else, and people started turning off from country, in addition to the fact that the urban cowboy craze was over, and we were riding off the coattails of that craze. But still we were getting lazy. Nothing was happening. I think it's changing right now because we're at a point where we'd better get off our butts and do something because people are bored, people aren't buying, and so it's suddenly starting to become interesting. The Judds, boy, listen to their music.
Do you think that's a reflection of the economy, or do you think it's a reflection of the music, lack of musical excitement?
I think it's both. If you don't have music, people become bored and then they don't buy. And when they don't buy, you better figure out some way to do something, because otherwise we're not going to have our doors open any longer. So when your back is against the wall, you start fighting. You start finding ways to create. You start finding things to do. That's one of the reasons why we came up with this TV show that we're doing from Radio City Music called the Nashville Network's second anniversary, a 10-star lineup of CBS artists. We had to figure out something to do, something different, and we just luckily were the first people to say, you know, we can salute you at Radio City Music Hall. How about that? So.
Is that the ultimate goal? Is the ultimate goal for all your acts to sell a lot of records? Is that ultimately what you're dovetailing
Sure, that's what
to?
We're in the business to sell records, but my idea of selling records goes a little bit further than just to sell records. I don't believe that I could go against my grain and my soul just to sell records. I have a personal belief in music. I believe I thought something a long time ago. Music was going to tell me something spiritual. Behind all my selling and my marketing is a real spiritual person that incorporates spirituality with saleability, I guess you would say. So my main goal is not to just sell records. It is for our company, I guess, but it's also to make good music. And,
do you think that most consumers feel the same way you do?
I don't know. I don't know if most people in the record business feel like I do. I do know I have some friends that do. And those are the people I hang out with late at night in the studio roaring around the streets of Nashville.
I was going to say, because isn't that the essence of the music industry? That is.
I think at one point it was, but now the people that are running record companies are accounting majors. It's interesting. The people that used to run record companies used to be writers, old radio guys like Rick Blackburn, but they're not anymore. They're accounting people. That scares me a little bit, but I think that we made another swing. See, all these people went out crazy, you know, spent a lot of money. Then there was a real bad point, and we didn't have any money, so then they went to the other side. Now you've got accounting people in there. I think the pendulum is starting to come back again, everywhere.
But at a company like CBS, don't you see that corporate mentality part of marketing music? And isn't it necessary in order for all that music to get out there to have that corporate marketing?
I don't know, and this is my answer once again. I think you do need a corporate mentality. Also, corporate mentalities bore the hell out of me. I like to go beyond. I like to bend rules. I'm not saying break rules, but I bend some. And I sort of have managed to be in a corporate situation and look sort of corporate, I guess like I look today, but go around it, bend the rules, and so I've managed to carve this little niche for myself there. I think you need that. I also think you need some creativity and wildness, and people that are willing to take a risk, because Prince said it so wonderful on the AMAs. I can't remember what he said, but something without adventure or without trying, there's death. I don't know. Basically what he was saying was, if you don't go out there and try to do new things, the adventure's going to be gone. You're going to die. You're going to become like everybody else. It's not going to be exciting, and people probably won't want it anymore. Not to mention you're going to really bore yourself. So I think you need both. I think you have to have both. I do.
Okay, let me jump back to tours and videos. Do you think videos are going to replace live tours, or do you still see live tours as important?
They can't replace live tours. There is nothing like talking to a person live. No, I think that touring is becoming harder and harder. I forgot to tell you this. We also develop tours, touring plans, touring patterns, so that you take one part of the country and you find the markets that the artist is either weaker in, that you see some kind of action starting to happen. You monitor sales in different areas, and if you see something start to happen, now sometimes you go into an area that is not broken. Ricky Skaggs' Northeastern tour, he's not strong up there. He doesn't sell, but we put him up there so he could. On the other hand, we have Mo Bandy and Joe Stampley doing their thing down in the Southeast, because that's where they're strong, and so we want to enhance their sales. I don't think that anything could ever take away live performance, but live touring is getting harder and harder because gas is getting more expensive, hotels are getting more expensive, per diem is getting more expensive, everything is getting more and more expensive. So the costs of being on the road are rising, the cost of ticket sales are therefore getting higher, because the act is having to ask for more money, and then the more money translates to, well, then you have to take that out on the consumer and jack up the ticket prices. But I don't think it can ever take a place. One of the things I'm starting to see more and more of is that you'll see people, major acts on tour together. George Jones, Merle Haggard, Dolly Parton, Kenny Rogers. You know why, I think? Because they have to be together to make that draw, to keep their ticket prices up so that they can even go out on the road.
But aren't most acts not making any money from live appearances? They're going to have to make it on their merchandising?
Oh boy, merchandising is a big field. Most people will, big people, make more on their merchandising than they make at the show. I think the two go hand in hand. But there are plenty of artists that get paid a lot that make just off of what they make in concert. But boy, merchandising is something else. Oh.
You're talking about selling the T-shirts, selling the sweatshirts?
You make more, most people do make, the big people, and I'm not going to say most, the big people make more money off their merchandising than they do make, but believe me, there are a lot of people that make real good money, that break even, that make very, very well. George Jones and Merle Haggard make more from their ticket sales. No, I'm not going to say they make more off their merchandising probably, but they do very, very well off their concert sales. They make out, after they've paid all their bills, they make out. They're not losing money on the road. So it depends. You know, you put a new artist out there, gosh, they can't break even at all. It's real hard because nobody knows them, nobody comes, nobody buys their T-shirts, and the people don't pay.
You brought up a new artist. A new artist is signed to CBS. They tell you about this artist.
That's when I come in. What's
the first steps that you would take for this person?
You wait for the single. You see what the music is. You see what the album concept is. You talk with the artist, find out what they are about, where they want to go. It starts with the music, and then you start dealing with the person, and those two go hand in hand very closely. And then you start seeing what the single action is happening, the chart play is happening. You see how people are responding, and then I don't take it from there. Well, I guess I do take it from there. But there's no sense for me to try to develop something that nobody wants either, see? So that's where the radio comes in.
So your development actually starts with a hit single?
No, not a hit single.
An acceptable single?
It starts with an acceptable single that people are getting excited about. I could have a single that feels good. Now, feels good, what does that mean? What feels good, my gosh? Well, you put a single out and people start jumping on it right away. People start wanting it. People start humming it. I know that something's going to start happening, then I start. If something dies, sometimes you want to take some, you know, you have a new artist and not right away people know them. So I start developing then. It's a real hard question once again, because if I don't have music and nobody wants it, then I don't really have anything to develop. But if I don't start developing, trying to show people what I have, then they're never going to know either, maybe. Maybe they won't know.
When CBS signs an act, aren't they looking for someone who's got some kind of acceptance to start with? Or are they just looking for someone who's got the talent?
Talent. Sometimes you find somebody that is acceptable. I mean, when we signed Merle Haggard, God knows, everybody knew him.
No, but I'm talking about a new act.
A new act? No, just the talent. Absolute talent. You also, you know, when you look for talent, I don't do this, so I shouldn't say, but you listen to what they do. You look at them as a person. You go see them live. You see their live presentation, although, you know, that can be work too. I mean, they could have a rough live presentation, and that's fine. You could work with it. But you look at both, but you look for the talent. You look for their voice. You look for something maybe a little bit different. You look for something that you don't have now. You look for something that's not out in the marketplace now, that you don't have as a record company, that the marketplace doesn't have. You listen for a new sound. It's Ricky Skaggs is a prime example 3 years ago. People thought we were crazy, but boy, he was so good.
Yeah. But he had a base to work from.
I guess he did. He was with
Emmylou.
Yeah, I guess he was, but still I don't think most people knew about him.
Do you have a typical week?
Typical? No. No. That's why I like it. I don't like anything typical, or I do like some things typical, but I get bored pretty easy. So this is why my job is so particularly good for me, because boy, it keeps me on my toes. And sometimes I think, oh God, please let me be a kept woman. Just let me be married, let me have kids. But then I know that's not really me either. So my typical, I don't have anything typical in my life.
Except that the week starts on Monday and ends on Friday.
No, sometimes it ends on Monday again. I work weekends, I work all hours, I'm up in the middle of the night. I'm jumping up, creating. I have this idea that I want to. No, I never have anything typical.
Is this indicative of the people that work for CBS and work with acts?
I think so. Yeah, I think pretty much. I'm out on the road seeing an artist show. I'm in New York City, pumping VH1 to play my videos. I'm in Los Angeles. You know, no, I never. I'm in the studio. I'm in a video shoot. I'm in the recording studio. I'm on Merle Haggard's Houseboat. I'm, I don't know, out at 4 o'clock in the morning with Merle calling, Johnny Cash, come out, come out.
Does CBS pay its people lucratively for this total commitment?
Well, I don't guess. I feel like I'm happy with my pay, but I don't feel like I get paid near what I'm worth.
What's the average? What would be an average ballpark figure of people starting with a record label in publicity or artist development? And
I would say the average would probably be 25, 30,000.
And then going up to?
Going up to, oh gosh, I don't know what they make up there.
And how does somebody get started on that?
Started on what?
In publicity, get started working with CBS.
It's hard to get in there, you know. Jobs in the music industry are very, very hard right now. One of the things that I like the best is the intern program at schools, because you have the opportunity. You'll never see a job ad for wanted artist development director. You'll never see that. Wanted CBS director of publicity, CBS Records. You're never going to see that, and those things are never added. So what you have is you have to have this word of mouth. And I think one of the nicest things about these intern programs are that you have the kids there learning. You know what? There are no textbooks either to really learn what I do, what anybody does at a record company. You almost just have to be there and have that on-the-job training. What I do changes every day. It's very subjective. It's very relative. I never know what I'm going to do next, but once I get there, I figure it out. And I know the point that I'm there to figure it out too. So you have to be there, and that's how you get a job. You're just there. You are on the streets, and people start knowing your name, and they start seeing the job you do. That's why the intern programs are so good.
Okay. Well, Debbie, thank you for being with us today. That was Debbie Banks with Artist Development at CBS on the Music Biz.